Welcome back, viewers. You're watching WION World is One. This is World DNA, the show that gets you ahead of the rest. I'm Shivan Chandna.
And I'm Jyotsna Kumar. And on the show today, U.S. President Donald Trump says the ships are once again moving through the Strait of Hormuz and that the key global oil route is expected to be completely open by Friday. Now, his comments come after Washington and Tehran announced a deal to end the war in West Asia. The reopening of the strategic waterway can help restore global energy flows and, of course, ease pressure on oil markets. We'll get you all the updates on that.
Also, bringing you updates from France as the G7 summit is underway now in the French resort town of Evian-les-Bains, where leaders of the world's major democracies will be discussing conflicts in Ukraine and West Asia, global economic challenges and AI at this summit. Donald Trump has said that he would now focus on efforts to end the wars in Ukraine and Lebanon after securing a preliminary peace deal with Iran. Let's start with the headlines. This is World DNA.
PM Modi received Slovakia's highest civilian honor, the Order of the White Double Cross, during his visit to Bratislava. Award recognizes his role in strengthening Indo-Slovakia ties and marks first visit by an Indian PM since its independence.
I'm very happy to say it's signed, the deal's all signed. And the strait is already partially opened. As now on Friday, it'll be completely opened.
Donald Trump says an agreement with Iran has been signed and the text of the deal would be released after a formal signing on Friday, adding that Hormuz Strait would also be fully open.
We have an agreement where it's going to be open, and it's toll-free. We had a little argument on that. It's toll-free.
Trump announces the Strait of Hormuz will reopen to commercial shipping toll-free after Iranian mine clearance operations also authorizes the immediate lifting of the U.S. naval blockade after the formal deal signing on Friday.
Hezbollah says it used rockets and drones to attack an Israeli force advancing near Kfar Tebnit in southern Lebanon, claiming it halted the operation and targeted two Merkava tanks and an excavator.
A US B-52 bomber crashes and bursts into flames shortly after takeoff from an Air Force base in California, killing all 8 people on board. The aircraft was on a routine test mission when it went down at Edwards Air Force Base.
Russian overnight missile barrage kills at least 11 people across Ukraine and sparks a fire at a major Orthodox monastery in Kiev. Following the attacks, Ukrainian President Zelensky urges G7 leaders to increase pressure on Moscow.
UK PM Keir Starmer announces a ban on social media use for children under 16, arguing that platforms expose young people to harmful and addictive content. The proposal has drawn mixed reactions from children's charities.
India has raised export duties on diesel and aviation turbine fuel while keeping the levy on petrol unchanged. The move aims to capture higher refining margins and strengthen government revenue amid evolving global energy market conditions.
Belgium and Egypt play out a 1-1 draw in their World Cup opener after Belgium equalized or cancelled out Imam Ashour's first half goal. The result extends Egypt's wait for a first ever World Cup victory.
US President Donald Trump has said that Iran has agreed to never have a nuclear weapon. His statement comes just a day after Washington and Tehran announced a deal to end the war in West Asia.
And while the US, Sudan, and mediator Pakistan say that the peace agreement was to be signed on Friday in Switzerland, and senior US officials cited in reports have begun giving details about the content of the deal. They say the Strait of Hormuz would reopen on Friday, while any sanctions relief or release of assets will depend on Iran meeting commitments under the deal.
They said technical talks on Iran's nuclear program are expected to begin this week. Reports say that Trump, Vice President J.D. Vance, and Iran's Parliament Speaker Mohammad Bagher Ghalibaf had already signed the text electronically.
Now, asked at the G7 in France when the text would be released, Trump said it would be released sometime after formal signing on Friday.
Coming in for it, he was originally going to do it. I'll probably be gone by then. We're having dinner in a day and a half, right? We're going to be staying quite late. So I may be involved, I may not.
Iranian President Masoud Pezeshkian called the deal a great achievement for the region, but Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi of Iran struck a more cautious note, citing a history of broken commitments.
Failure to fulfill commitments and Americans tearing up agreements. And all of this is in our minds, so we are basing the negotiation plan and implementing the understanding that has been reached on distrust and past experiences.
Iran's Foreign Ministry spokesperson Esma Bagheri said Washington must ensure that Israel stops fighting in Lebanon under the agreement.
Lebanon and the end of the war in Lebanon are an inseparable part of the agreement to end the war.
But Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu said that the country's forces would remain in Lebanon as well as Syria and Gaza as long as necessary.
We will stay there as long as necessary. Iran wanted us to retreat from there. It didn't happen. Do you know why it didn't happen, among other things? Because I stood very, very firmly. I was very, very decisive about this thing, and I think that our American friends respect this decisiveness and firm standing.
Lebanese President Joseph Aoun welcomed the agreement during a call with Araghchi, saying he hoped it would be a positive step towards reducing tensions.
Lebanese state media later reported the first deadly strike since the announcement, saying the Israeli attack in the south killed one person. And to give us more details on this, our correspondent Susan Tarani sent us a report from New York. Let's listen in.
With a healthy dose of skepticism, the United States and Iran seem to be moving into the next phase of negotiations after an initial agreement. Vice President J.D. Vance, Special Envoy Steve Witkoff, and Jared Kushner are set to attend Friday's formal signing ceremony in Geneva, with Vice President J.D. Vance expected to lead the technical talks going forward. But major questions still remain. The agreement itself is only about a page and a half long, that's according to Vance, and key details including sanctions relief, Iran's nuclear commitment, and regional security arrangements as well. Well, none of those have been finalized. Trump also credited China and Russia for helping pave the way for the Iran deal, praising Xi Jinping and Vladimir Putin for what he called their constructive role. Israel has also signaled that it wants to preserve freedom of action against emerging threats from Iran moving forward. So for now, the deal remains largely untested until the technical negotiations are complete and implementation begins. And it's clear what actually is in that text and what the two sides have agreed to. Any prediction is speculation. And as we all well know, from now until Friday is a lifetime when it comes to the West Asia conflict. So let's see what happens. Susan Tehrani reporting from New York for WION World is One.
Now, as Washington and Tehran move closer to a possible peace agreement, one name has reportedly emerged from behind the scenes
as perhaps the most powerful voice shaping Iran's strategy. That's Ahmad Vahidi. According to a Wall Street Journal report, the veteran commander of Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, IRGC, has repeatedly pushed for confrontation over compromise and has reportedly become a dominant force in Iran's decision-making apparatus.
Citing Iranian and Arab officials, the Wall Street Journal reported that Vahidi backed Iran's recent ballistic missile strikes on Israel, which Tehran described as retaliation for an Israeli attack on Hezbollah's headquarters in southern Beirut.
Well, the report says Vahidi also pressed Iran's negotiators to reject concessions to Washington, arguing that Tehran held the stronger hand. The Wall Street Journal report claims Vahidi frequently overruled Iranian President Masoud Pezeshkian and Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi, and even insisted that Iran first restore its military deterrence after months of conflict and attacks.
The report further states that Vahidi linked an end to Iran's war with the cessation of Israel's military campaign against Hezbollah in Lebanon, a move that reportedly increased American fears that renewed Israeli operations could derail negotiations. Vahidi's influence stems from decades inside Iran's security establishment.
A founding member of the IRGC in 1979, he took charge of its intelligence arm in his early 20s and later helped create the elite Quds Force, the organization responsible for directing and even supporting Iran-backed militias beyond the borders of Iran. He also served as Iran's defense minister and interior minister during the 2010s. As a former Quds Force chief himself, he reportedly played a major role in transforming Hezbollah into Lebanon's most formidable armed group.
Vahidi, along with Iranian Parliament Speaker Mohammad Bagher Ghalibaf, are emerging as the public face of Iran's post-Khamenei power structure. Ghalibaf has become a central negotiator in the current talks and reportedly spearheaded both Iran's war effort and the high-stakes diplomacy that led to the agreement to halt hostilities.
While in contrast, Iran's Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi is facing mounting political pressure. Despite remaining Iran's top diplomat, he has reportedly come under intense criticism from hardline factions, with protests and accusations of betrayal over negotiations and ceasefire efforts involving the US. US and Iran have agreed to a pre-deal memorandum of understanding, but one of the major unresolved issues of this agreement is Israel's occupation of southern Lebanon.
Well, Trump is caught between Iran's insistence on including Lebanon in a deal and Israel's insistence on operational autonomy against Hezbollah. As leaders scramble over a potential solution, Lebanese people are returning to the southern parts of Beirut, a Hezbollah stronghold that has witnessed intense Israeli bombardment. There are visuals coming in that you see on your screens from the city of Tyre, where people are returning to destroyed homes. Lebanon's army has urged displaced residents to delay their return to southern border villages.
Well, in southern Lebanese town of Nabatie, residents returned to inspect the destruction caused by Israeli strikes. Walking amid the ruins, a resident described the feeling after witnessing the destroyed neighborhood.
Despite all the sadness and pain we feel when we see our city destroyed, we still have hope that we can rebuild it.
Plumes of smoke were seen rising over the southern Lebanese village. This is a first reported deadly strike since the announcement of a deal to end West Asia war on all fronts. Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu has announced that IDF will continue to operate from what he described as security zones.
We will stay there as long as necessary. Iran wanted us to retreat from there. It didn't happen. We are staying there because we need to protect the residents of the north. And there are other things too, in any ways. We want to preserve and act to preserve our freedom to act.
With Israel and Hezbollah refusing to put their guns down, the fate of Iran and this Iran deal now hinges on what happens next in Lebanon.
Now, 8 people have died after a B-52 bomber crashed at an Air Force base in California.
The heavy bomber was on a routine test mission when it went down in a massive fireball at Edwards Air Force Base, about 95 kilometers north of Los Angeles. Footage from the scene showed a large charred area where little remained of the aircraft. Officials said the crash was unsurvivable. The U.S. Air Force B-52 Strato Fortress, it is a long-range bomber that has been in service in the U.S. since the 1950s. It was conducting a test sortie as part of a radar modernization program. A mix of military personnel, government officials, and civilian contractors were on board when the aircraft crashed and immediately erupted into flames and this happened shortly after takeoff. The accident occurred around lunchtime at the base, a major operational center for the US military, and was contained within the facility's perimeter.
Today, Edwards Air Force Base experienced a horrible tragedy, and we lost 8 great Americans. This crash is deemed to be unsurvivable, and right now our thoughts and prayers are with the families of those that lost their loved ones. We're sending teams out to notify the next of kin right now as we speak, and those next of kin notifications will take place over the coming hours and remainder of the day.
The B-52 is a heavy bomber that first flew in 1954 and was originally designed for potential conflict with the Soviet Union. It has undergone continuous upgrades, allowing it to remain in service decades after the end of the Cold War. The aircraft, which can carry a variety of weapons, including bombs and cruise missiles, has a wingspan of 56 meters and a length of 48 meters.
Now, the B-52 is typically crewed by 5 personnel: an aircraft commander, a pilot, a radar navigator, and an electronic warfare officer. With a combat range of up to 8,800 miles, it is capable of carrying a nuclear payload. The United States has deployed the aircraft in conflicts including Vietnam, the Gulf Wars, Iraq, Afghanistan, and most recently in Iran as well.
Now, there is no immediate indication of what caused this crash in California, and a safety investigation has been launched. Well, Monday's incident marks the first crash of a B-52 Strato Fortress since the same type of bomber crashed on the island of Guam in May 2016.
And Ukrainian President Zelensky said that he is willing to meet Russian President Vladimir Putin in the United States.
And he also added that Putin would find the offer harder to refuse. The Ukraine's president said that he made a proposal in a call with U.S. President Trump and is waiting to see what came of it. Zelensky also said that Putin ignored an invitation to meet him at the G7 summit in France.
We offered Putin to meet anywhere where real decisions to end the war could be made. He does not want it. And we discussed with the US and France the possibility of a meeting with Russia around the G7 with all democratic nations represented. Putin does not want it. Yesterday, we discussed with President Trump that such a meeting could be organized in the US in a format where Putin would find it much harder to refuse, at least to President Trump. And we will see what comes of it.
Well, earlier this month, Russian President Vladimir Putin said that he saw no point in meeting Volodymyr Zelensky until a peace deal is ready. Meanwhile, US President Trump said that they can do something on Ukraine. He also said that both Putin and Zelensky are open to it.
We had a very good conversation yesterday with President Zelensky and President Putin, and I see maybe we can do something there. I really do. I think they're both open to it. So now that this is finished, we're going to be focusing on that.
In the midst of all this, the United Kingdom said that it will supply enriched uranium to Ukraine for its nuclear power stations ahead of a session in the G7 summit. UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer had said that Britain will impose new sanctions against Russia.
Meanwhile, the United Nations has called for less outside interference in the Ukraine war. And this comes after the European Union policy chief, Kaja Kallas, claimed that China has been training Russian military personnel to fight in Ukraine. The United Nations, however, said that they could not independently confirm the reports.
European Union today is confirming reports that the Chinese military has trained Russian personnel to fight in Ukraine. What is the Secretary General's view on this?
Look, we have no way, I've heard of these reports, we have no way to confirm it one way or another. I think the last thing the war in Ukraine needs is more soldiers, more outside interference, more outside participation. We need to see it go the other way. And we noted that I think President Trump spoke to both leaders over the weekend, and we want to see an end to the conflict.
Now, representatives of UNESCO visited the Kiev Lavra Monastery, a UNESCO World Heritage Site. They inspected the monastery after it had been badly damaged in a major attack by Russia. The attack in Kiev killed at least 4 people.
Meanwhile, authorities in Kharkiv claimed that 5 emergency responders have been killed, while 5 others have been injured following a Russian strike on a building. Officials say that they were attacked by a Shahid drone and a ballistic missile. So far, at least 11 people have been killed across Ukraine. The Ukrainian Air Force claimed that Russia launched around 70 missiles and 611 drones overnight. Now, what if the death of a star is not an ending, but a beginning of sorts?
And what if instead of leaving behind a black hole, a dying giant star creates an entirely new universe? Well, scientists now have proposed a new theory claiming that the collapse of a massive star could spark the creation of a tiny expanding cosmos hidden within it. Our next story tells you more on it.
For decades, scientists believed that when a massive star runs out of fuel, gravity crushes it inward and creates a black hole with a singularity at its center. A place where the laws of physics simply stop working. But 2 theoretical physicists from a university in Frankfurt proposed an alternative. Their mathematical model suggests that a collapsing star could give birth to a miniature universe inside itself. According to the study, this tiny universe would rapidly expand under the influence of dark energy, much like our own universe did after the Big Bang. As it grows, this newborn cosmos would push outward against the crushing force of gravity. That tug of war could stop the collapse before a black hole forms. The result would be an object called a gravistar, an ultra-compact body that mimics a black hole but contains an expanding universe within. Researchers say this is the first model to explain how gravistars could emerge from ordinary collapsing matter, solving a question that has puzzled scientists for nearly 25 years. If the theory proves correct, the death of a giant star may not end in darkness. It could become the birthplace of an entirely new universe. Bureau Report, World is One.
It's time to take a very short, quick break on World DNA. Lost lined up on the other side. We leave you with some images that have been making strong, of course, missions across the world. So take a look at that.
get the latest updates.
Destroy their
Breaking
missiles
news.
and raise their...
Credible, clear, continuous. Experts across aisles. Diverse voices, one platform. WION World is one. You can have 1,000 problems in life until you have a health problem. And then you have only one. Health is wealth, a timeless proverb that has resonated through generations. It reminds us that physical and mental well-being are life's most valuable assets. At the WION Health Pulse 2026, we tap into the health concerns that matter to you the most and explore actionable strategies to safeguard the ultimate wealth, your health. 4 pulsating themes, 100 plus thought leaders, one dynamic platform. WION Health Pulse, because your health matters.
Modi and Trump face-to-face at G7. The famous personal chemistry will be on test.
You're smart.
The red lines and trade reset will be under scrutiny. The high-stakes meet at G7. Watch the body language, the breakthroughs, as the world's 2 most powerful leaders meet.
The Israeli drone is above our heads all the time in Lebanon. Around 169 buildings have been totally reduced to rubble. Every time there's a warning, they just come to this public area where there are around 200 tents, and they reside for a while, and then they go back to their home. Some of the Lebanese people enjoying their time, celebrating, singing, dancing, and some others forcibly displaced. From the southern suburb of Beirut, I'm Radi Francis for WION The World is One.
Iran and Ukraine loom over G7, as France looks to rekindle the original spirit of G7. Future looks increasingly uncertain for the international order. International economy becoming a space for confrontation. Can the summit bridge the divide between the allies and Trump? Will this G7 be a defining moment for the middle powers? In-depth coverage of global issues broken down into facts, figures, and simple words. Backed with analysis from field experts who truly matter, because we believe in decoding the real picture for you. So you get a much wider and deeper understanding of stories from around the world, a 360-degree analysis. An award-winning documentary series, week after week creating the maximum impact. Watch WION Wide Angle at these times on WION. World is One.
Welcome back, viewers. You're watching World DNA with Jyotsna. I'm Shivan. Lots more to discuss on this side of the show. Let's start with the headlines.
Prime Minister Modi will head to France's Evian for a 2-day visit to attend the G7 summit, where he is also set to hold bilateral talks with leaders of Canada, the UK, and UAE, and attend a gala dinner hosted by French President Macron.
US President Donald Trump, in a Truth Social post, says that Iran has agreed to never have a nuclear weapon as part of a deal set to be formally signed in Geneva on Friday, dismisses reports that US is paying Iran $300 million as fake news.
Iranian President Pezeshkian says MOU with US is a result of months of negotiations and could become source of national pride if fully implemented. Thanks Iranian officials, including Khalifah Arakchi, for playing the role in securing agreement.
Hezbollah says it used rockets and drones to attack an Israeli force advancing near Kfar Tebnit in southern Lebanon, claiming it halted the operation and targeted 2 Merkava tanks and an excavator.
Russian overnight missile barrage kills at least 11 people across Ukraine and sparks a fire at a major Orthodox monastery in Kiev. Following the attacks, Ukraine's President Zelensky urges G7 leaders to increase pressure on Moscow.
UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer announces a ban on social media use for children under 16, arguing that the platform exposes young minds and young people to harmful and addictive content. The proposal has drawn mixed reactions from children's charities.
The $345 million prediction market on Polymarket has sparked a dispute among traders over whether a US-Iran agreement constitutes a lasting peace deal. The disagreement has delayed settlement of one of the platform's biggest geopolitical wagers.
Belgium and Egypt play out a 1-1 draw in their World Cup opener after a Belgian equalizer cancels out Imam Eshour's first half goal. The result extends Egypt's wait for a first ever World Cup victory.
Now, Prime Minister Narendra Modi wrapped up a historic 2-day visit to Slovakia after holding bilateral talks with Slovak PM Robert Fico.
Now, the visit underlines New Delhi's growing engagement with Europe and its push to deepen strategic partnerships across the continent. India and Slovakia unveiled 14 key outcomes during PM Modi's state visit, which was the first ever by an Indian Prime Minister. Both sides upgraded bilateral ties to a comprehensive partnership and also announced an agreement on labour mobility, opening new avenues for skilled workforce cooperation. Both leaders discussed expanding cooperation in automobiles, railways, advanced manufacturing, green technologies, defence and infrastructure. PM Modi also thanked Slovakia for supporting efforts to conclude the India-EU Free Trade Agreement.
I hereby request Prime Minister Mr. Modi to accept the declaration from the hands of the President of the Slovak Republic.
Slovakia also conferred its highest honor, the Order of the White Double Cross, on Prime Minister Modi, taking the count of global honor bestowed on the Indian Prime Minister to 33. External Affairs Minister S. Jaishankar called the award a recognition of Prime Minister Modi's leadership in advancing India's engagement with Europe.
Now, Prime Minister Modi also visited Slovak President Peter Pellegrini at the Presidential Palace in Bratislava, where Slovak artisans showcased a Varanasi-themed exhibition aimed at fostering cultural dialogue through visual art.
Slovak PM Robert Fico described India as a trusted partner and praised its achievements across multiple sectors. From diplomatic symbolism to strategic substance, the Bratislava visit marks a new chapter in India-Slovakia relations.
An Australian family's holiday trip to Pakistan has ended in a fatal tragedy.
Now, this happened after 9-year-old Hania Ahmed was killed during a police operation following an armed robbery. The incident occurred last week in Chakwal in Pakistan's Punjab province, where the Perth-based family was visiting a relative and traveling in a rental car when they were held at gunpoint by robbers.
Now, according to the Punjab police, officers from the Crime Control Department, they intervened after the family was taken hostage during the encounter. The suspects opened fire at the police, triggering an exchange of gunfire. Authorities say that in that chaos that followed, an officer mistakenly believed the suspects were attempting to escape in the family's vehicle and opened fire on it.
Now, that decision proved fatal, leading to the death of the 9-year-old girl and injuries to her father and brother. Her mother survived unharmed. The officer responsible has been suspended, arrested, and produced before a court. He was remanded to judicial custody. His weapon and shell casings have been sent for forensic analysis.
Australian Prime Minister Anthony Albanese has called for a transparent and full investigation into the incident.
And these circumstances do need to be examined. They need to be examined in a transparent way so that everyone can know, the family most importantly, but others as well. And Australia expects there to be transparency and a proper investigation of these circumstances.
Meanwhile, Pakistani authorities promise a thorough and impartial probe into the fatal shooting.
Australia has launched a formal investigation into claims that a group of activists were physically and sexually abused while in Israeli custody.
Well, these activists, they were detained by Israeli forces last month after their Gaza-bound humanitarian flotilla was intercepted. Australian Federal Police say that they have begun examining complaints made by representatives of the activist group. The announcement came after 4 female activists from the Global Sumud flotilla met with Australian Foreign Minister Penny Wong and other senior officials.
11 Australians were among hundreds of activists detained by Israeli forces on 18th of May after their Gaza-bound flotilla was intercepted. The activists claim they were subjected to physical, psychological, and sexual abuse while in Israeli custody.
I was dragged into a darkened container ship on a prison boat. I was sexually assaulted. I was beaten. And that was just the beginning of 4 days of absolute hell. I've looked into the eyes of the most soulless people in the universe, and nothing came back.
I have a fractured rib and bruises and cuts all over my body, but by far the worst thing was being there the whole time and seeing and listening to my friends be punched and kicked and tasered and shot with beanbag bullets and have stun grenades thrown at them for 2 days on a prison ship, and then for another day and a half in occupied Palestine.
We were filmed by locals who were laughing at our abuse and laughing at our pain. When we were funneled onto the steps of the airplane, I actually fell. And when it happened, when I fell, was 3 grown men began to stomp on my wrists and my stomach and my face as they laughed and they threw slurs at us.
Israel detained more than 430 activists from multiple countries after intercepting the flotilla in international waters as activists attempted to challenge the blockade of Gaza. The incident drew further attention after Israeli National Security Minister Itamar Ben-Gvir posted a video mocking detained activists while their hands were bound. Ben-Gvir has faced growing international criticism, with Australia and several European nations banning him from entering their countries.
Now, the investigation marks the first formal Australian probe into allegations linked to the flotilla detentions, with authorities expected to provide updates as inquiries progress. And all eyes are on the U.S. Federal Reserve as newly appointed Chairman Kevin Warsh prepares to lead his first policy meeting. Here's a look at the challenges facing the new Fed chief and why the upcoming meeting could set the tone for U.S. monetary policy in the months ahead.
Just 3 weeks into the job, Federal Reserve Chairman Kevin Warsh is facing one of the most consequential moments of his tenure. While the Fed is widely expected to keep interest rates unchanged, the focus is firmly on what comes next. Inflation has accelerated to 4.2%, its highest level in more than 3 years. Investors, economists and policymakers will closely watch Warsh's first post-meeting press conference for clues on whether the central bank is prepared to resume its fight against inflation with tighter monetary policy.
So for Kevin Warsh, this is a very tough time to be coming in as the new Fed chair. I don't envy him at all. I think the conditions that we had at the beginning of the year when he was nominated they're gone. It's an entirely different world today. And so he's coming in as a Fed chair now who has a rapidly increasing rate of inflation, also a job market that seems to be improving. And so the balance of risks has shifted from trying to sort of ensure the economy is going to keep running to now a concern whether it's overheating, whether inflation rates are rising too fast, and that consumers are expecting them to keep rising.
The backdrop for Warsh's debut is increasingly challenging. Markets have rapidly shifted from expecting rate cuts to pricing in possible rate hikes by the end of the year. 2-year Treasury yields have moved above 4%, exceeding the Fed's current policy rate, while long-term bond yields recently touched their highest levels since 2007. Fed policymakers are also showing signs of division, with several officials warning that persistent inflation may require higher borrowing costs. Traders currently see a significant chance of at least one rate increase before the year end. Beyond the economic challenges, Warsh must also navigate questions about the Federal Reserve's independence. President Donald Trump has repeatedly called for lower interest rates and has publicly opposed any move towards rate hikes.
Look, I have a very talented guy, leave it up to Kevin. But I've always said, and I've said it for years, when you have a country that's doing well, the market should go up. The market should, and the reason they go down is if it's doing well, people have said, oh, we have to stop inflation. And it doesn't mean inflation. In fact, it could be just the opposite. Remember that we saved $600 million every point.
A former Fed governor known for his hawkish stance during the financial crisis, Warsh has more recently argued that artificial intelligence could help reduce inflation over time. With little public guidance from him since taking office, investors are looking for the first clear indication of how he intends to steer US monetary policy in the months ahead. Business Bureau WION, World is One.
And Tesla is facing scrutiny over the safety claims behind its full self-driving system in Europe.
A Reuters investigation found that some of the data cited by the company may have exaggerated the technology's safety record. Tesla has been seeking approval for its full self-driving or FSD system across Europe as it looks to expand sales in the region. The system can perform many driving tasks on its own, but still requires a human driver to remain attentive. The Reuters investigation found that Tesla and CEO Elon Musk have repeatedly cited figures claiming FSD is up to 10 times safer than human drivers. However, the news agency said that its review found problems with some of the data comparisons used to support those claims, which may have exaggerated the system's overall safety performance.
Reuters said Tesla's safety claims relied on data comparisons that did not measure like-for-like driving conditions. For example, some comparisons contrasted Tesla vehicles using FSD with the general driving data that included higher risk road conditions. The report said that such comparisons could make the system appear safer than it actually is.
Well, documents obtained by Reuters show Tesla shared its safety reports with European regulators, including authorities in the Netherlands. Tesla has said approval of FSD is important for growth in Europe, where the company is trying to recover market share. Its sales fell sharply last year amid protests over Elon Musk's political activities and growing competition from Chinese electric vehicle makers. Without broader approval for FSD, Tesla could face greater challenges in the European market. It's been a day of draws in the Football World Cup on Monday, with the first 3 games ending in stalemates.
In Group H, Spain were held to a shock draw by Cape Verde, while two-time World Cup winners Uruguay had to come from behind to grab a point against Saudi Arabia. And earlier, Egypt were denied a win by Belgium in Group G game.
Well, European champion Spain, one of the pre-tournament favourites for the title, were held to a shock goalless draw by African qualifiers Cape Verde. Despite enjoying 74% possession and laying siege to the Cape Verde goal, Spain failed to find a breakthrough against the underdogs. Barcelona superstar Lamine Yamal was introduced off the bench but could not break the deadlock.
Uruguay dominated but had to settle for a 1-1 draw against Saudi Arabia in Miami. In evening temperatures of more than 30 degrees Celsius and energy-sapping humidity, both teams struggled to create much in front of goal early on. Defender Abdelale Al-Amri gave the Saudis a surprise lead near the end of the first half. Uruguay produced a more spirited performance in the second half, racking up 22 shots in the second period. The Saudi defense and goalkeeper doggedly held firm, but the pressure finally paid off within 10 minutes left through Maxi Araujo. And this and Spain's draw with Cape Verde leave the Group H wide open. After the first round of games in the pool, all 4 teams have 1 point.
In Group G, Belgium and Egypt drew 1-1 in their World Cup opener after a second-half Belgian equalizer spoiled Mohamed Salah's 34th birthday. Imam Ashur opened the scoring early in the first half in Seattle before Romelu Lukaku came off the bench after the hour to force Egypt's Mohamed Hani into an own goal.
Well, for decades, mainstream Indian cinema has painted the Punjabi with a brightly colored brush. Largely, they have either been scripts, comic relief, or the designated best friend of the main character.
And enter Imtiaz Ali. The acclaimed filmmaker has long been celebrated for his deep, unwavering fascination with Punjabi culture. But rather than exploiting it for easy laughs or just vibrant song and dance numbers, Ali has consistently woven the identity, historical trauma, and lived struggles of the Sikh community through a filmography that spans decades. Ali has transformed Punjab from a mere geographical backdrop into a living, breathing state, a place of healing, profound romance, and complex history. His reverence for the warmth of the Sikh community gets very evident in his breakout hit, Jab We Met.
The film begins with a soul-crushing look at Mumbai, where Aditya Kashyap is drowning in depression. It is only when he is thrust into the vibrant world of a Sikh family in Patinda that Aditya begins to heal. In the company of Sikhs, the previously suicidal Aditya finds an inexplicably at home.
Well, Ali's exploration of the Sikh identity deepened with Love Aajkal, where he used the character of Veer Singh, played by Saif Ali Khan and Rishi Kapoor, to depict a pure, old-world Punjabi romance. Veer's storyline served as the moral and emotional anchor of the film, highlighting the unwavering loyalty and deep-seated cultural values of the community.
Now, this theme echoes again in his recent release, Main Vapas Aunga, where the Sikhs are forcibly made to detach themselves from their homeland, which is now in Pakistan. The story is set in 1947. Young Kinu finds it impossible to believe that India is about to face one of its most brutal phases in history, where millions will be forcibly made to strip away from their homes. He promises to return to his homeland, which is now in present-day Pakistan, but geopolitical tensions keep him apart.
In another masterpiece with Diljit Dosanjh, Amar Singh Chamkila, Ali pushed past the vibrant mustard fields and delved straight into the historical trauma of Punjab. Here, the music wasn't just a trope, it was a desperate cry of the marginalized community.
Imtiaz Ali's commitment to authentic Sikh representation even extended to Bollywood's biggest superstar in Jab Hari Met Seju. Imtiaz Ali achieved a cinematic milestone by making Shah Rukh Khan wear a turban for the first time in his legendary career. As Harinder Singh Nehra, SRK, wasn't just wearing a costume. The turban was a vital piece of character's displaced identity, a visual reminder of the home and heritage. All right, next up, let's take a look at the climate stories that have been making headlines from across the world.
All right, viewers, that's a wrap on this edition of World DNA. But before we let you go, here's a reminder to all our viewers in India. You can watch all 2026 FIFA World Cup matches on Z5. Tune in, catch all the action live. This is WION. Stay with us.
The Israeli drone is above our heads all the time in Lebanon. Around 169 buildings have been totally reduced to rubble. Every time there's a warning, they just come to this public area where there are around 200 tents, and they reside for a while, and then they go back to their home. Some of the Lebanese people enjoying their time, celebrating, singing, dancing, and some others forcibly displaced. From the southern suburb of Beirut, I'm Radi Francis for WION The World.